I wanted to set the table a little bit for the day and talk a little bit about innovation and the way that humans tend to fight it and embrace it at the same time. So let me show you this. This used to be the way you'd get water. It was really manual. In 1720, there was an amazing invention that actually takes up this entire house as a replica of the very first functioning steam engine. It was used for pumping water out of mines. And it's a pretty mechanical thing, but it changed the world. And it was the beginning of the very first industrial revolution. We're going to argue that we're at the dawn of the fourth industrial revolution. I think a lot of people would say the same. In fact, there was a conversation that the report that came out from Davos in January said sort of the equivalent. Once you had this core idea, over the next 200 years, there were amazing innovations and applications of the same technology, from buggies and motorcycles to the very first Ferris wheel at the Chicago World Fair, steam-powered by this engine, to the Tom Thumb famous race of locomotive against horse. And this is where that sort of that love-hate, I think, begins to be most evident. So here you have this amazing engine. It goes really fast. It goes fast for a long time. This guy's like, nope, I can beat it. I got a horse. Let me show you. And famously, the Tom Thumb lost to the horse, but of course won the race. It sets up a dynamic that I want to just sort of focus on for a second, which is, as much as there is innovation, there is this resistance to change. As much as we want the new and the better, we want things to remain the same, and we worry about being displaced or being altered by what happens within technology. And as much as this was true 200 years ago, I really do still believe it is true today. And what we sort of want to avoid is this idea of the steam-powered drill versus John Henry, right? And if you remember the song, it's going to come on in a second. The song talks about how he wins the race, but he loses his life. I don't think there's anything that dire in our time, but it's emblematic of this fight. So between technology and steam, there is the electric age. I'm not really going to talk so much about that. There were light bulbs, you get it. There were a lot of other things that happened because of electricity. The next big thing that happened was the technology age, which is really around computing. And the main driver of computers, of course, was war and the ability to calculate trajectory for ballistics. And this started with a hand-cranked watch mechanic machine. This is the Babbage difference engine, which was also created in the 1700s. And was all about how could you do the work of a lot of people very quickly and very systematically. These women are mathematicians working just the early days of World War II, and they were called the calculators, and that's where the word came from, as a matter of fact. And their job was to do one thing, which was to calculate ballistic trajectories for every single gun used across the war for the Allied forces. And there were a lot of guns, and every gun got one of these tables, and every cell took more than an hour to calculate. And it was an awful lot of work, and it's not simple work. It was complex work, time-consuming work, but replicatable work. And that's where the Eniac comes in. Let me see if I can get it to do it. Eniac was developed at University of Pennsylvania. It's the first ever electronic calculator, taken from the term. These guys are checking its accuracy with a more reliable machine, the Abacus, so you know they were serious. It was designed, again, the same thing, to calculate ballistic trajectories. These women are not assistants, they're not secretaries, they're the calculators, they're the mathematicians, they are programming the machine with punch cards. And this basic idea of what a computer and what technology was is the dominant mode and is still fundamentally what is present in society today. It's, can you do more processes more quickly, and can you access more data more quickly and more efficiently, right? It doesn't change. It hasn't changed since then. While maybe our displays changed, maybe the outputs changed, there is very little difference between that first machine and the conversation that occurred on an airplane between a high-level sales executive at American Airlines and a high-level executive at IBM and said, hey, I bet you we could use a computer to help figure out how to fill those seats and how to book those seats, because it used to take about an hour to secure a seat on an airplane, and they got it to take minutes by using one of the early IBM computers. That became the Sabre system. Famously, Gary Kasparov, who was the world-leading chess player in lost to IBM's Deep Blue. Deep Blue, the whole presentation was, this is a thinking machine. This is a machine that thinks like a man or woman. Not true. In fact, it was just another one of these same calculators. It was accessing a giant amount of information and processing it very quickly. And while amazing, it was able to see every possible chess game that could possibly occur all at once. It wasn't thinking about what to do. Nonetheless, it did something more efficiently than a human, and that's sort of part of the story. When you think about the modern brands that do what we think of as amazing and modern things, they're all doing the same thing. They're filling seats, they're placing trades, they're thinking about a lot of locations. When I think about, for our audience, the evolution of ad serving and of the DSP, it's still raw horsepower calculating opportunities and how to fill them quickly. It's the same as the Sabre system. It's the same, honestly, as the Eniac. The big change comes when we get to this new industrial age, which is certainly heralded as the beginning of artificial intelligence, which is a very scary phrase and I think scares a lot of people. And I think IBM would be very glad to take credit for it, though I don't think most people think they deserve all of the credit for artificial intelligence. There's, in fact, a lot of artificial intelligence opportunities. That was a shot of IBM's Watson system beating the leading Jeopardy players at Jeopardy. Again, it was sort of a, well, so is this machine smarter than a man? And the answer is, well, it can beat him at Jeopardy, and Jeopardy is really hard. It's really complicated. It uses natural language, and it uses nuances of language, and you have to understand a joke. And most importantly, you have to be able to learn on the fly. And that certainly is a telltale of this next generation of computing. The idea that Watson understood which answers were given by its competitors and was able to incorporate that into its data set so that it could say, well, since that guy got it wrong with that answer, I'm not going to give that answer too. It's a simple thing that a 3-year-old understands, but most computers don't. So that brings us, enough about you. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about SocialFlow. Let's talk about this, the people in the room, and those of you who are here, I know are fans, are users, are people who appreciate the technology and where we are in the world. SocialFlow is on the bleeding edge of technology. We, in fact, employ 2 pretty heavy-duty, significantly different than anything that's gone before them, systems that leverage artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is not a simple ad server. This is not filling spaces with something really, really fast and calling it innovation. This is true innovation. And what we will see before us is all the new and different ways that you can take advantage of this technology. When I talk about the way that our systems learn with machine learning, it's the way that we watch an audience. It's the way that we are able to understand which audience is interested in what in real time and over time, so we can make better decisions about placing social posts. My associate and friend, Frank Spicer, one of the founders of the company, is going to speak after me, and he's going to speak to a new product which is also leveraging artificial intelligence. Everything that we do is about this next age. And I guess the reason I want to tell this story before we started today is that I want to thank you all for a number of things. First, I want to thank you for being here. Second, I want to thank you for being SocialFlow fans and SocialFlow customers. And third, I want to thank you for being pioneers, because it's not always that easy. Sometimes the knee-jerk as humans is to resist change, is to resist technology, is to worry, oh my gosh, this machine's going to take my job. That's not the goal here, and that's not really the place we are in history either. This is a place where machines over time get to do more and more that is less and less human, that the human part of any role should be left for the humans. We were blowing a lot of our day getting water and making fire not that long ago, and now we get to do other stuff. And this is the same message that is true of the new technology as well. That the more you are able to rely on technology, rely on innovation to do what it can do, what it can probably do better than a human. And that's not an insult. I don't get insulted if my pocket calculator can calculate the tip faster than I can at a dinner room table, right? It doesn't insult me. I'm glad I could do it. I don't have to waste my time doing that. It's the same with this technology. If we can do something that enables our industry to move forward, to take advantage of what is arguably the most human of all medium, which is social media, to be able to leverage its understanding of natural language, of inference, then we've really done something special.